Either late night or early morning.
Exclusive.
Kevin, at last night's Q&A, you talked about remembering saying some what you called ignorant words when you were growing up because people are a product of the time they grew up in and that world. How much did that impact your wanting to do this project? And how much has, in your career, how much has that been a goal of yours to kind of enhance your own understanding?
Well, not my career to enhance. I hope I'm smarter 5 years from now with issues in my life. I mean, our kids aren't the only ones that are growing up. We got to become better parents and better artists and better, how we exchange or what we do. But it impacted me, and I wrote about 4 lines of that speech, and that one was, I wrote the lines, look, I know it's an ugly word. I'm ashamed that I used it. I'm sorry that I did. I guess that was my own kind of thing. Mike wrote this script, but I added those 3 or 4 lines in there. It was just in there, and it came out here.
The apology, you mean, or the statement
Not the
itself?
apology. No. Mike wrote all those. I'm just saying the line where it's like, did you ever use that word? Yeah, I did, and I'm sorry I did. I know it's an ugly word. I'm ashamed I use it, but I did. And I added that in there. Just why did I do that? Not for penance, but I put it in there because I thought it was appropriate. I don't just layer something on. I thought it was him trying to explain where it came from, and it ultimately came from these texts that he was using himself. So, no, I wasn't looking for a moment to set history straight or to write something. We're actors, okay? And that doesn't mean we don't have our own social thoughts and maybe heavy-duty ones.
Right.
But we're still actors. And so, but I think what we're both not afraid of is to go down this path. And I think Anthony, with all the choices that he could be making at this point to go off and make this little movie, says a lot about who he is. That, wait a second, and there's something that spoke to him that some things that needed to be said, and sometimes you think, I'm the only fucker that should be saying these right now. And I think if you look at those scenes, you will see those moments when he springs like a tiger.
You guys have talked, there's this issue about kind of suppressing the first thought or being judged on what your second, third thought is. To me, that almost makes you wonder is the implication that people's first thought is often something objectionable or something that they shouldn't be judged on?
I don't think so at all. Because he moved right down to the very next, sorry, Anthony, he moved right down to the very next thing to qualify. I just see a pair of tits. Big ones. Okay? And, and if I move on to my second thought, I'm not a pervert. Okay?
Of course. So, no, but I'm wondering, is the first thought something that's natural, but to be a
very
proper person in society has to be kind of suppressed? We all this latent.
I don't think
sexism,
so. I think you
racism.
honor your first thing and then move to your second.
Right. I think your first thought is your initial thought, your reaction, your gut reaction, and you pay attention to that. Your second thought is what turns it into something that you need to get help with, or something that's an acknowledgement. And that's the difference. That's where the thought process comes in. If I look at you and I'm like, white dude, man, I hate white people. I bet he like fucking quinoa. I got a problem.
The second, second and third thought started to kind of go down that road. If Anthony and I were going to walk to the Bulls game, and we're walking to the Bulls game together, and some guy comes weaving down the thing, and if I don't think Anthony sees him, I might go, I think that dude's weaving.
Right.
I don't care if he's black or white. I said, let's just watch out that this guy is acting a little bit strange. Now, at that point, it's just our first observation, and maybe you can call it a survival instinct if you want. If somebody said, if I see my child start to go very quickly for a dog, I say, hold on. It's just this dog. Yeah, but we don't know anything about that dog right there for a second. And you just don't go up to. I thought what he said was genius, and I can't really pick it apart, especially when he gave the little follow-up about the beautiful woman. You could put 40 other metaphors behind it, and you go, I know what he's saying now.
For sure.
I know what he's saying.
Will there ever be a time where people's first thought isn't white man black man?
What's
Will
that?
Will there ever be a time when people's first thought isn't, I see you, I see a black man, I see you, I see a white man? And does that need to happen?
I hope not. I hope not. I think that's very important. I think, that's like looking at a tree and calling it a cow. You know it's a tree, so say it's a tree. The problem is when you look at a tree and you're like, I'm going to piss on that tree. That's the problem. You can acknowledge a person, just don't piss on that.
The wonderful thing is
really
that your
good
child
point.
recognizes a difference, and you have a moment to then really explain how the world came to be. There's a big universe out here. There's Oriental people. They live on a whole other side of the world, and it's like, there's opportunity in difference. There's opportunity in cultural difference that are amazing. You want to taste? We're going to go eat. You know what we're going to do? We're going to eat Chinese tomorrow. And we realize in someone recognizing difference, go down that path. We're not going to change the world, and I think that Anthony might be right. There's some things that are built into us. Sometimes you see a fire and you need to put it out. Sometimes you go to that same fire to get warm.
Right.
There's a thing that has there's a thing. It's what Mike said. It's the second and third and fourth that begin to define. If this beautiful girl in this short skirt, suddenly I'm neglecting my work. Suddenly I'm kind of hawking her. Some kind of I got a problem. Especially if it's a workplace. Especially if I'm married. Especially if I'm blah blah blah. There's a problem exists, and it was genius because whenever you put a woman into things, it can put perspective into place for a man. Anyway, okay, I see what you're saying.
Real fast, right?
See what you're saying.
Well, speaking of, putting out a fire versus it keeping you warm, it's a really interesting moment in the film when Jeremiah gets really upset with Reggie because he feels like he's perpetuating what the white character believes about black people. I don't want to use the word, it wouldn't be a responsibility or anything, but do you think as, sadly, racial tensions persist, lack of understanding is still out there, do you think people should be cognizant of these stereotypes? And I don't know, is there any type of, again, not responsibility, but would it be helpful if people seem aware of these perceptions and help to counteract them?
I think you have to be aware of it because that's when you acknowledge the ignorance that comes along with it. Look, if you look at the Jeffersons, okay? If anybody looks at Good Times, they say that's a black show. Nobody will look at Friends and say it's a white show. Nobody will look at Seinfeld and say it's a Jewish show. And that's where I feel these connotations that come along with it being a black show scares off the audience. Because 9 times out of 10, a black person will go see Superman and look and say, I could be Superman, cool. 9 times out of 10, a white person will go see, say Spawn, and he'll look at him and it's like, Spawn's cool, but he's black. And that's where the problem and the injustice in lies. That's where the confusion is. And I think that's what my character was trying to say to Reggie. When people see you, they see the antithesis of me. And I've worked too hard for you to fuck it up.
And if you drop the one word, you qualify, what's the word, you exemplify, you corroborate everything. If you take that line out, there's still nothing wrong with that speech. Saying, man, you've got the last name, forget racism, you got the last name as me, you got a little kid.
Right.
This isn't, he's not looking for a pat on the back, he's talking to his relative, saying, get your shit together. You're not ready to go to court, and and mom, you've got a blind spot when you come in. This cat doesn't want the job right now. So if we're going to take care of this child, we're going to maybe go down my road as a lawyer. If Reggie can figure out a way to get his shit together 5 years from now, maybe. But if his lecturing is not a black man lecturing another black man, his lecture is one that you'd want to straighten somebody out.
Sure.
But because there is this layer of racism, he had to throw that in there. He said, look it, man. This is what, and that was real. A level of frustration that was above and beyond just being a lawyer.
certainly on a little bit of a lighter note, in this movie, Elliot gets frustrated with Eloise sometimes, has learning to discipline, yell at her a little bit. What's something that your family's yelled at you about when you were kids?
Everything.
What do you mean?
I was just a bad kid. I was always into something. Like, I set my yard on fire once. I set my house on fire once. Pirated. Yeah.
Did you ever do that?
My dad tried to my dad was a fist fighter, and my dad was a disciplinarian. Never raised a fist to us, but he. I mean, he looked at me, and he said, "Kevin, do you have a head? Do you ever use it?" It's like I had a rule. He said, "When the street lights come on, come home." You got. But I played so hard, and sometimes the game's getting really good when the street lights come on, and you forget about the street. And up come my dad, and I'd see him. And I'd run to the other side of the street, and I'd start running home, and he just heard me, back in.
And if you had just said, "Dad, it's not like I set the house on fire,"
right?
Yeah,
that's rough. But it's like, yell is yeah. My dad would have a level of upset with me, I got spankings, man. I did. I got him. I saw that belt, and I'd start crying before the belt hit me. He goes, "I'll give you something to cry about," and lines like, "You ain't hurt yet." I used to know two things about my dad. We lived in this little house, and this was in Compton. And if I was in trouble, I would know it because I'd hear my mom whispering to my dad when he came home.
Right.
I'd go in my room, they were talking like I did. They were talking. And when she was done talking, he would come in this hallway, and if he went to the right, that was my room, and if he went to the left, that was his room. If he went to the right for me, I was okay. He was just going to say, "I don't expect any more trouble." But if he went to the left, I know he's getting the belt. There was this little thin belt. So my whole life was, did he go right or left? Did he go right? It's funny, you remember that shit.
Wow. We have Batman versus Superman coming up soon. Who wins the battle between Robin Hood versus the Falcon?
Robin Hood has no chance whatsoever.
Probably doesn't.
Why not?
Probably doesn't. Hey, but I don't think the Falcon would attack Robin because I think let's just put it this way. I think the Falcon would think Robin Hood's fine. He ain't causing no trouble.
Right.
Robin Hood's after the same dudes I am.
Right.
Robin Hood ain't a bad guy. Falcon would have not a single problem with Robin Hood.
That's convenient for Robin Hood because he was apparently going to get his ass kicked.
Right.
He did have a problem.
Let me tell you, in this world of getting your ass kicked, there's always somebody that can.
Always.
Do you think you're bad? There's always somebody a little bit badder.
Always.
Before I run out of time, last one. I thought it would be fun. Can you please either give me your best impersonation of someone that you have, tell me the worst pickup line you've ever heard, or quote a line from a movie that you love?
I can quote a line from, I love Coming to America, and it has, he says, he's in the bathtub and a woman goes, "The royal penis is clean, Your Highness." And I'm like, I've always wanted a girl to say that to me. Like, I don't know, I've always wanted, I would die a happy man. Like, if I'm in an old folks home, I want my nurse to say that to me every day.
That's what you were going to say, right?
No, my line is from True Grit. He says, "That's bold talk for a one-eyed fat man."